Hello. Sorry for this weird setup, but I've just decided, even if the quality of the video is kind of crummy, I'm going to start making more videos. Even if I feel like I look shitty, I'm going to start making more videos. Too many excuses have kept me from doing this. So, um, I just made a fantastic video on my personal channel about my recent remote viewing experiences. I took a class. Unfortunately, YouTube didn't save my video. There was one person watching it who liked it, who was probably a YouTube moderator or a bot or something, I don't know, but I got a strike on that channel for a video that I made 5 years ago. And I think I don't know, they're just being mean to me. But not on this channel. So, let's get right into it. What is the homeopathic medicine of the cards? So I was sitting in the car waiting for my husband at Home Depot. I didn't have my phone. I didn't have any reading materials. So I pulled out this little notebook that was where I keep notes and stuff. And the spirit said, "You're going to find something really interesting in there." And so I was like, okay, I'm tearing out old pages I don't need, like painting bids and stuff like that. And then I found this homeopathic medicine of the cards. So I'm going to go through each one. And when I say the universe sends you an ace, this is whether it shows up, you do a reading, whether it shows up in your 52-day period looking at your cards, or whether you find that card in a parking lot, or if that person comes into your life, or is in your life, or is you. All of the above applies. So if you have an ace, the universe is sending you aloneness so that you can develop, and this is the homeopathic medicine. So when you're alone, you can either be lonely or you can develop a sense of independence. And the beautiful thing about this is that somebody said this to me at college. Those times you feel like you're not growing are often the times you're growing the most. And just having to get up every day and you're the only one who decides what's going to happen in your life, that can lead to loneliness, or you can realize that very gradually you're building a sense of independence. So the universe sends you aloneness so you can develop independence. So let's insult the aces a little bit. They can be very self-centered, very self-focused, and I've often said this is their job. It's perfect. But if you get triggered by that, it's so that you can reflect on selfishness and really sort that out. There's positive and negative selfishness. You all know that. But also, what is like the homeopathic, what's kind of the flip side of selfishness is actually oneness, the connectedness of everything. So, like, well, as an ace, my life is all about me. Well, everything's me. Okay, so if you have a 2 come into your life, it is so you can experience codependent relationships so that you can develop interdependence and autonomy. Now, an interesting thing about the 2, the Enneagram, the really deep Enneagram book called Facets of Unity, says that one of the overarching qualities that a 2 is working with is will. And you find that 2s can be very controlling, and there's this love language thing there that's like, you have to do it the way I'm telling you to do it because I love you and I'm trying to help you. But there's that will there that's just like, whoa, it's a little much. But what does that cause you to work on and to create? Well, boundaries, interdependence rather than codependence. It's all about boundaries and cleaning up relationship. That's what a 2 can kind of cause you to do. The universe sends you a 3 so that you can turn confusion into creativity. 3s are all over the map, aren't they? And they can seem like diarrhea of the mouth or the mind or whatever. Or you can be like that when you get a 3. But really what it's doing is life is helping you to draw a bubble graph instead of a linear outline. Let's just barf it all out on the table and look at it. That's kind of how I describe a 3, is laying all the cards on the table. And sometimes there's a sense of overexposure, oversharing with a 3, but I find that I feel the least judged by 3s because they're just like, they're not binary. They're like, story, let's hear the story. Let's hear all of it. They're non-dualistic. So there's that, but there's also the quality of, why does Robert Camp say 3s are creative? And I think it's because of, out of that space where everything is included, you can, you've assembled all your materials. Now you can be creative with your ideas, your relationships, your projects, your values. Okay, 4, when the universe sends you a 4, you will experience insecurity for the purpose of developing self-sourced security. This is the first thing that taught me that the cards are homeopathic. Because of the 4 of diamonds. All 4s tend to be kind of preoccupied with a sense of security. The 4 of diamonds, less so, especially the women. They tend to be more focused on that 5 of spades that sits under them. They're sitting in the house with the 5 of spades, so they actually really have a sense of adventure under their belt. I want to go out. I want to experience. I need freedom. But so anyway, the 4 is, when you have a 4 come into your spread or into your life, there will be a focus on structure and security, and it can be kind of excessive, but then you come to realize that you create your own security. And when your sense of safety and belonging and security, this really is an enormous mouthful because I have not achieved this by any stretch. When you can achieve that internally, nothing can threaten that sense of security because it's not dependent on external circumstances. So, fear. The other day, I was just like kind of at wit's end and kind of couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then finally, I realized I was afraid. I was afraid of aging. I was afraid of physical problems. I was afraid for my security, basically, to just lump it all into one thing. I didn't even know it. And then just had a really beautiful spiritual moment. And I was like, oh, I trust the universe. I'm okay. And now I kind of can't even access that particular fear, which is very cool. Okay, 5. When you get a 5, you may experience dissatisfaction and restlessness, particularly if you are an even card. Not all even cards, granted. The even cards in the Uranus line, not so much, or the Mercury line, because they're kind of integrated. But for the most part, odd cards like 5s because they're like, we get a change, and the even cards are like, I'm not in control, and they're like, oh, I don't like this. I don't want to be a complainer. I'm oriented to creating my own sense of structure and predictability and planning. And when a 5 comes in, you will feel dissatisfied and restless. But what does that lead to? You get clear about your desire. You get clear about how much you actually like freedom. And there might be kind of an interplay with the whole concept of responsibility in there. Okay, a 6. When you encounter a 6, okay, for me, some of them really trigger me because they're rule followers, especially the 6s on the Enneagram, and that's a big internal thing for me because I'm a 9, and so I go to a 6. But when you encounter a rule follower, you have to really figure out what your duties and responsibilities are, how you are accountable to other people. 6s can also introduce polarization. Oh, the 6 is also the karma, the spiritual contract, the mission. So you have to sort of be like, oh, what am I called to do here? Which is kind of like a higher octave of what I just said regarding rules. 6s have a kind of polarization within them, which is I'm really, really this, but I'm also really, really that. So it's allowing for that polarity. Um, there's a freedom in just accepting, oh, I feel like a rebel today, and then the next day I feel like a rule follower. Um, and I am going to insult the 6s a little bit here, and they are very dear to me. They're very sweet. They're very other aware, very caring, often caretakers, but sometimes they have a complaining victim thing going on. So again, that can lead to an examination of responsibility. So 6s help you find integration of opposites, balance, loyalty, and agency. What about a 7? When the universe sends you a 7, first thing I'm going to say is they can be a lot. It's just a lot. We had a dog over the weekend. We were dog sitting for two of our friends. So we had 3 dogs, including ours. One of them is definitely a 7, and she just like stirs it up. She's like 10 times as hungry, 10 times as thirsty, drinks 10 times as much water, poops 10 times as much, burns 10 times as many calories. I mean, 7s are kind of a lot. So when they come into your life, they can bring like a sense of chaos. Okay, now I'm thinking about the my elbow's killing me from painting, so I have some patches on. X39. Um, I'm thinking about that card, that the 7 of Cups in the Tarot. It just shows lots of different cups, and like a person is in a state of chaos and confusion. And I don't know if I bring that to people. I think I do. I feel like Pigpen walking around in a miasma of chaos and confusion, sometimes just being me. But sometimes you have to do is just accept that. But you also have to figure out what your priorities are. So maybe a 7 can help you find what really matters to you. Okay, basic card thing. 7 will bring to your attention what your attachments are, depending on the suit. 7 of Hearts are very attached emotionally to people. 7 of Diamonds, like me, are very attached to. Got a little too much cleavage with this shirt. They're very attached to their value system, so they can be kind of preachy and righteous. Should. 7 of Clubs are very attached to their ideas and beliefs, and 7 of Spades are very attached to their way of doing things, and maybe even their work. So 7s can help you loosen up your attachment. So maybe like that 7 of Cups, the confusion, it's like sometimes when you encounter chaos, the best way to deal with it is just to let go. Just let go into it, accept it, and trust that something is figuring itself out. And that's another aspect of the 7 is faith. It's a spiritual vibration. It's about the center point. Like in that, you draw a 6-pointed star. Like I'm thinking of the flower of life. The 7th point somehow has got to be in the center according to some sort of sacred geometry. I'm just saying. I don't know. But it is a center point from which you can orient. So yeah, it's a trust thing, and looking at your attachments. Also forgiveness, letting go. It can bring up obstacles, so you have to look for the higher vibration to move past it. Thank you for the 2 likes, and whoever's watching. Feel free to comment or ask questions. Okay, so when you encounter an 8, what's your opportunity? Anyone? Eights, they make their presence felt when they enter a room. An eight enneatype or any kind of eight. They, they'll often say, I didn't ask for this. I didn't want all this power. Well, technically you did. I think you picked that number to work with power. My daughter has so much emotional power and has had a love-hate relationship with it, and is finally beginning to imagine herself as an effective leader. And she was given just an incredibly chaotic situation recently for the purpose of, her critical mind was like, well, it should be this way and it should be that way. And it's like, you've got a gift in that way, in figuring out how things should be. And once that's all on your shoulders, you're going to harken back to these days when you could see how the leadership was screwing up. Isn't it just such a burdensome thing to have poor leadership? Because everything in you wants to serve the whole, do right by everybody, do your job, whatever your enneatype is in there. You want to do it right. Lorenz, November 28th. You're the 5 of Hearts. I think that's Denzel Washington's birthday. Anyway, I don't see a question there, so I'm just gonna keep going. So the 8, when you get sent an 8 in the form of a person or in your spread, you're going to have to deal with power. We all want to be in control in some ways, some more than others. Even those who say they don't want control or they're a pleaser, well, they're an ego function and they're trying to control somebody by pleasing them. It's an insidious thing. So it might, like, you might encounter abuse with an 8, abuse of power, violation of some kind. So what is the homeopathic medicine of abuse? Anyone? Oh, yeah, are you the 8 of clubs? Right. So yeah, tell me if this is resonating with you, Claudio. When we get abused or receive, I mean, even I'm super sensitive to this. A lording it over, getting bossed around kind of feeling, which my daughter did a lot to me. And it caused my will to come out. It was like pricking me, and it brought out my will. So if you're an 8 of clubs and you struggle with how people respond to your energy, know that, well, in any way, just know that your energy is going to elicit a response in other people that they need. And sometimes it doesn't feel good when it comes back on you, but try not to take it personally. So 8s help us become empowered, really, is the nutshell. They help us to find our own clarity, our own power. They can bring a sense of opposition, abuse, and control, or lostness. That was some insight I had. I don't know why, but some 8s feel really lost, or bad leadership. And then we can find strength, empowerment, clarity, will, and leadership. It's a very powerful vibration. Yeah, pun intended. 9s. When you encounter a 9, you are being dealt invisibility, insignificance. Oh, I gotta plug in my. Really glad I have my plug nearby. About to lose my computer. You will be dealt insignificance, invisibility, worthlessness. That sounds like fun, right? Um, you can also feel kind of vague. Uh, and then the homeopathic dose is that you have to find your own worthiness, your self-love, and your value. I see myself. I am not invisible because I see myself. I acknowledge myself. That's the work of the 9 energy. My guides are asking me to talk about that sense of invisibility. It can be so plaguing. And another principle I've discovered in studying the cards and the Enneagram is that whatever you are, the worst possible thing that could happen to you in particular, not only is likely to happen, it must happen. Because that's the energy you're working with. That's what you came here to work with. So the 9 will be ignored. The 8 will experience abuse or poor leadership. The 6 is going to be in a situation where the rules get broken and people aren't living up to their responsibilities. The 2 is going to feel controlled. A 1 will be in an experience where things are really imperfect, really flawed. 5 of Hearts and 3 of Diamonds karma cards are moon to each other and karma cousins. Isn't that trippy when you have that kind of thing within your own card? Like, I experimented with that once. I'm totally going off topic, but Lorenz, it sparks this memory. So I gave readings for close to 2 decades. And the Ace of Diamonds has as its moon card the Ace of Hearts. And the karma card under that is the Ace of Diamonds. So a word picture came to me when I was talking to someone, when I was looking at it, and then I tested it out on an 8 of Diamonds. I said, do you feel like you've done this all before and you're having to do it all over again? Like the same kind of issues, the same life? She goes, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. I'd never even imagined feeling that way, you know? But yeah, those are some very interesting questions to ask yourself when your cards internally, like, if your karma card, the house that you're sitting in, is also a card in your hand. And I think it's that you're bringing a level of expertise in your soul to a specific aspect of your life to work with it again. 5 of Hearts. Yeah, I'm kind of getting that. I'm kind of seeing the chart with the 5 of Hearts and 3 of Diamonds. Yeah. Yeah, so interesting. Okay, so yeah, the worst possible thing that can happen to you will happen. So get used to it. No, just like it's okay. It's not your fault, you know. So, you know, what is the medicine? That's what this whole video is about, is what is the medicine that you've given yourself? What are you trying to get? So when a 10 shows up in your life, it will bring overwhelm, performance demands, very high expectations, so that you can develop, like, God, when you feel overwhelmed. Oh, the vagueness that came with a 9. There's something you may have been noticing. I've been dropping little clues, but cards that sit right next to each other share a characteristic, kind of like a chain. And the characteristic that a 9 and a 10 share is overwhelm, a lot of things. And the sense of vagueness that comes with a 9 is because it's a transcendent, universal, all-inclusive energy. And a 9 wants you to see the bigger perspective. It wants the largest possible container to explain something. It's about being open at the top. It's a graduation, a culmination. So feeling vague is kind of like the egoic or the lower vibration of that, and just being open and completely blank, just like the remote viewing. It's like, just go blank and receive. Get what you get. 9 can be asking you to do that. You can also feel very, very seen when you're with a 9. A 9, okay, so this brings up the whole thing. Lorenz, you're the 5 of Hearts. Or no, aren't you the 3 of Hearts? Okay, because no, you're right, I'm sorry. The 5 of Hearts. So fives, what is the medicine that a 5 brings into the life of someone else? Okay, an 8 brings empowerment into someone's life. I want you to feel empowered. A 9 says, I want you to feel seen. That's the medicine they've been giving themselves. A 5 says, I want you to have a sense of freedom, especially around desire. Five of Hearts, I think of as that inner child. I really need, like, I want to curl up and watch Harry Potter and eat popcorn. What do I really need? That heart, that child that wants something. And the five can say, I want you to have what you want. This is the medicine I've been working on. So it's a lovely thing to think about. What's the medicine we give others? So what's the medicine a 10 gives when they show up? Um, this is a tough one. I think precision. Let's see, what did I write? Quality, balance, autonomy, precision. Tens typically feel that because they're capable of doing something that they ought to, they should. And they don't, obviously. There's a big caretaking wound with the 10 of diamonds where they literally feel invisible, but they're in a big way. In a really big way. And tens are a lot. I'm thinking of all the 10 of diamonds in my life, and I'm like, oh my God, they're all so much. And they're all just incredibly gifted, amazing, wonderful, multi talented people. And they do usually help me to get clear and specific about something in my own life. When you have a 10 show up in your spread, expect to be busy and overwhelmed, but also expect in those times to develop more skillfulness in your living, more precision in your beingness. This is how I choose to be. It's like I've only got 5 extra minutes here. What am I going to do with it? I need such and such, or, think of those double fives. Okay, so jacks. If a jack shows up in your life, you're going to experience disrespect and detachment in order to find an internal rebel, a sense of humor, freedom, your own sense of privilege. Like he's the youngest member of the royal family. I love jacks. Everyone needs a jack in their life because they don't take things or people too seriously. They're funny. They're like, what the hell? They're just kind of outside the whole thing. And that's kind of their Achilles heel is, do they get involved? Uranus is just a overall kind of the Uranus and Jack just sort of go together. So that's, are they going to get involved and be a humanitarian and make a difference based on their incisive insight, their capacity to see what nobody else is seeing? Are they going to make a difference? Or are they just going to sort of detach, cut loose, and just go do their own thing? And there's a time for that, but, no man is an island. So, yeah, I love jacks. I think I covered that pretty well. Yes, they help you find your personal autonomy, authority, freedom, rebel, self-direction, creativity, originality. They're very analogous to the threes. They just are. They're often karma cards to each other. Queens. Okay, so when I first had this insight, whenever this was, and I wrote it down, all I put down was children, mother. Queens bring children into your life so that you can become a mother. And then I just moved on and I was like, I don't know, nothing's coming to me, which is really ironic because I've discovered I'm born in the hour. I don't know how you figure this. Someone just told this to me. I was born in the hour of the Queen of Clubs. Someone just figured out my name, my first name recently, and they're like, that's the Queen of Clubs. And also my ascending Uranus card as a Leo. Uranus by some is considered its planetary ruler. So that's the Queen of Clubs. I have a real affinity with them. I think a lot about the queens. If you're a Leo and you're a female, your queen is going to be a lot more prominent as a personality influence. Everyone has all of the court cards. Men have a queen too. So the children and mother thing, it really does sum it all up because as I got to think about it, queens are easily irritated. What do women do? What's your least favorite thing that a woman does, guys? They complain, they nag, they want you to be better than you are. Do it better. Be better. Stop smelling so bad. They're irritated because they're sensitive. They can tell what needs to happen. It's like a mom. It's like, okay, everybody needs to get their coats on. Everyone go to the bathroom, wash your hands, get your amusement for the back seat because we're going in 10 minutes. That's a mom's job. So they're very organized. They can bring a clarity that you have to become a critic, to organize, to mobilize. They also can develop an incredible amount of patience and nurture. They're moms. Queens are moms. Okay, what about the king? King is on a page all by himself. So they ran out of room. The first thing I wrote down was the king will bring you a world of chaos, ego, and control so that you can create order, sovereignty, honoring others, and service. That's a mouthful, right? Okay, they bring a world of chaos. They bring a world. When you get it, when a king shows up, like in your spread, and you're like, oh, okay, I have to experience my king now, or a king, or the kingness. You can feel a tremendous sense of responsibility for your own kingdom. Wherever your ego is with your own sovereignty, your own responsibility, your ability, this really is it. If the queen is the internal mother, the king is the internal father. I recently became aware that I do not have a very strong introjected father, meaning when you're a child, you're like, okay, that's what the mother voice says. That's how she is. And you introject it. And that's why you have your mom's voice in your head for the rest of your life. And then eventually you craft it to be your mother voice, your father voice. And I just kind of didn't have much of a father voice. And so went through some EMDR inventions and stuff. And the father is very kind, benevolent, very spacious, not critical, sometimes demanding, but always with a sense of profound, all inclusive love. And I think I have to draw on the Divine Father for my introjected, father energy because, I mean, my dad was fine. We just didn't have much of a relationship. It was just kind of, there was just not much there. So, anyway, how are you with your world? What you are responsible for? The people that you are accountable to give some leadership or direction to. And of course, ego and control is going to come into it. I was just thinking about this really annoying King of Clubs. I had in my life. Triggered the hell out of me. Loved her to death. Finally, she was just like, done with this person. And then I recently decided to be kind when I think of her. And I was like, Paula, she's just reflecting. Even just thinking about this King of Clubs reflects back to me all my ego, my selfishness, my control, my need to be right. Emil, hi. You're a King of Diamonds. What does the Nine of Clubs mean in the Ascension Hand for me? True nature of reality. Oh, that's a beautiful interpretation of the Nine of Clubs. Oh, thanks, Lorenz. Emil, that is really profound. I love that description of the Nine of Clubs. I've always thought of the Nine of Clubs as being all nines, like ultimately are kind of ephemeral, difficult to interpret, open at the top. I get vague about it because I'm the Seven of Diamonds, Nine of Hearts, but the Nine of Clubs is also a love and appreciation, a thirst for, and I think a healthy non-attached relationship to knowledge and information. So the highest vibration of that is like, I'm just going to be open to higher knowledge, to all knowledge, to esoteric knowledge, to practical knowledge. You know, the most successful businessmen. So the King of Diamonds archetype is they're just information vacuums. I think of a famous leader who is a diamond who began his leadership with listening sessions. I'm not going to say who. But this person developed this tremendous ability to take in information. I just love that. Just you showing up, Emil. There was a beautiful teaching. You brought that 9 of clubs medicine to us. Okay, so kings, think of your other questions because I'll just sit and answer questions for a while. But while I wrap up this whole king thing is you can't show up on the earth without an ego, and it's all okay. You're welcome. You're loved, you're forgiven. It's kind of like part of your earth suit. So we all kind of have that annoying King of Clubs energy. We all have our king archetype. What does your king tell people they should do? Did they tell them what they should believe as a King of Diamonds? Did they tell them what's really true? Did they tell them... The King of Hearts is interesting because there's some polarities in there for sure. They can either kind of get their ass whooped, or they can lord it over others, or they can be very gracious leaders. But yeah, they can be kind of persnickety about how people should be in relationships. They can be kind of judgy. King of Diamonds will throw you how you should, like the ethic, or even like money or whatever, but it's values, you know. I have given some tremendous sermons from my King of Diamonds aspect. The King of Spades just wants to control your whole life. Like everything. So what's the gift in that is that when you have talent, hi Liara, good. When you have somebody telling you how you should do it, and they're just fucking lording it over you, and you're like, enough already, doesn't it kind of get you to declare your own kingdom? You're like, I'm a king in my own kingdom, and this is how I'm running things. Not running your kingdom, I'm running my kingdom. And that's a healthy king. Even the unhealthy kings can be that homeopathic dose of obnoxiousness that can get us there. So, yeah, I'm open to questions now. If you have, I love that Emil asked about the ascending thing, because that's been my recent discovery and development around April. And I'm, you know, when I really go deep with a card, mostly myself, because there's so many layers and levels to it. And I did my more recent videos, I started to present kind of a tutorial on the Ascension cards. And from the get-go, it doubles your hand. So you have another Mercury card, another Venus, another Mars. You just go the other direction. You just go to the right and up. And it gets you to think more about potential and how you have been developing your potential already. That's one of the things I've really appreciated about it. It's not like, oh, I'm not just hammering away at this issue. I've actually accomplished something. 8 of Diamonds karma card. What does that mean? Okay, thank you for that question, Lorenz. So when the 8 of Diamonds is a karma card, meaning like for the 7 of Clubs, because it sits under them, or the Queen of Spades, because it's sitting in their house. I think it means that they have to deal with... Okay, the very first thing I'm getting, and I might be tuning into the person, if you're asking about a person, I'm getting a benevolence and a wisdom when it comes to leadership. like this person actually achieved a kind of gentleness in leadership. And what I find about Seven of Clubs is they have such a difficult task. They have such a painful life. It's painful to be a Seven of Clubs. So they have a huge victim thing going on. But when they're in a teaching position, they're incredibly in tune with who they're working with. And they're also very compassionate and tender because of the pain that they've had to experience. So that's how I see it showing up for them. But it also means you're going to be dealing with control, with what's my responsibility to look at the big picture, that kind of thing. What, your new Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. So Liara just recently became a grandmother. I'm so jealous. Um, Alfie, the 3rd of January, he is the Jack of Spades. Okay, I was walking through Lighthouse Bookstore in Boulder when I was giving readings years and years ago. A book literally fell off the shelf. It did happen. It was awesome. Pick it up, pop it open. It's written by Hazrat Inayat Khan, who founded the Dances of Universal Peace, a Sufi wonderful thing. And I popped it open and it said, "What is spiritual initiation?" Now, the Jack of Spades, Robert Camp calls it the spiritual initiate. It's like, what the hell does that mean? Like I never really stopped and I was like, what does that even mean? Do we have spiritual initiates in our culture? And it's basically when you are becoming a spiritual initiate, it's like you join a yoga class. I became a spiritual initiate taking John Vivanco's remote viewing class. It's when you drop everything to become a beginner and you start all over again. So the Jack of Spades has a beautiful contrast between old soul and beginner. You could call them the sophomore. Do you know sophomore is soft as in sophic, it's wisdom, more as in moron, the wise fool. They're a beautiful combination between, like, there's a glint in their eye where they know stuff. You know that they know stuff. And they can be very devious and sneaky and manipulative. And they will practice that ability as children to familiarize themselves with their ability to deceive energetically, to manipulate. But they're going to be masters at something. But they're going to be a little more lighthearted about their mastery. They're going to be a little more tricky. They're going to be a little more scheming. Okay, Tolkien, either he was the Jack of Spades or he was the Seven of Clubs, which their karma card, the card that, let's see, yeah, the Jack of Spades sits in the Seven of Clubs position. So anyway, just intensely creative. I mean, the guy came up with languages. So that child is going to be an absolute unending source of delight, fascination, wonder, humor. Oh, I'd love to hear your experience with him. Email says, it's my pinnacle year next year. Oh, okay, so you're going to be displacing the 8 of diamonds. I have 9 of clubs. Oh, okay, I'll check out our Telegram chat. That's great. Okay, oh, it's just so nice to be in contact with you in real time. I think about you all the time. It's just we're on different whatever right now, and I've been so busy. Okay, anyway, I have 9 of clubs long range. So the billboard, the long range, is an end of a paradigm. It could be an end of a way of thinking. That's kind of the textbook way to look at that. But it's also openness to information. And if you say it's your ascending, um, King of Diamonds, so that would be Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, ascending Jupiter. Did you say that? It's your ascending Jupiter. Yeah. It means that you really, really, it's going to be humbling, but you're going to have the capacity. Like I would just say to you, drop all your concepts and ideas. Find a space where you can do that, to be open to new information. It's going to be wonderful. and a wedding. Hey, guess what? We're actually getting married. So today is our 12-year anniversary. And it's Memorial Day yesterday, and we're getting married on Labor Day, September 4th. I always advise, don't ever pick a day based on the cards. Don't do it. Your higher self knows what it's doing. So I've preached this sermon, and guess what? I had to pick a day. You're so welcome, Emil. And I'll finish reading your thing about Six of Diamonds, Pluto. But I had to pick a day, and I can't not know what the cards are. And so I'm like, okay, it has to be early September. Da 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 da. People's schedules, the weather, and all of a sudden it came to me, okay, I want to pick a day that has the least amount of influence. It will introduce the fewest new vibrations to our relationship, because like it's fine the way it is. So this 4th of September is the 7 of Diamonds, my card. And it's ruled by Virgo, and I'm Virgo rising and yada. So I was like, okay, maybe it'll help us travel more because we get the 5 of Spades in there, and my husband doesn't. He's just not into travel, and I would love to be. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. It is a very happy anniversary. We've come a long way. We've been through a lot of shit together. Um, okay, email, continuing with this question. I have 9 of Clubs long range, 6 of Diamonds, Pluto, and 9 of Clubs result. Wow. So you get the 9 of Clubs twice in there. So it's a real Jupiter emphasis, right? Ascending Jupiter expansion. And sometimes expansion is uncomfortable. Sometimes it's painful and scary and annoying to have Jupiter standing there constantly saying, what's your potential? How can you expand in your potential? What can you be? I mean, that word potential used to be a curse to me. I hated it for a while. But it's like, what can you do that you're not aware of? What can you know? And it may be a call to intuition as well. And the King of Diamonds, they have kind of a secret little Buddha edge. They tend to travel with a lot of pragmatic people. They tend to be involved in pragmatic things, being in the Mars line, but they have that Jack of Spades in their hand, right? So they're like secretly, it's like their secret skill and talent is that they, like they say, millionaires don't listen to astrologers, but billionaires do. They get that the metaphysical is real, and it's a tool. Potentially very dangerous people, King of Diamonds. That was a joke, but it's probably true. Anyway, 6 of Diamonds, Pluto. Okay, so don't freak out about a 6 in a Pluto position. People are like, karma, I'm going to have to pay back the fucking karma. I'm going to get punished. Something terrible is going to happen because of all the shit I did in a past life. Well, let that go. 6s activate your soul memory with your mission. Why did you come here? It's just twanging that string a little bit. What's your purpose? What did you come here for? And you may be a little bored because 6s are like, things are going to be even Steven. It's going to be calm. When a 6 shows up in a challenging position, that's always the case for me. But I'm an odd card, so I like stimulation. 5s are fun for me. 6s are more challenging. And for an even card, 6s are easier and 5s are more challenging, except for the 4 of Diamonds. Because Liara has the 5 of Spades as a karma card, which means she really, really demands freedom. I mean, when you see somebody with a 5 of Spades really, really intact, it's not that they are brave and heroic because they've chosen freedom. Well, they are. They've chosen freedom over security. It's that they're incapable of being bound and imprisoned. They will allow their lives to be at a disadvantage for the sake of freedom because they can't exist in restriction. I know this about myself. And when you think of that as my ascending moon card, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, I think I'm going to go in a little bit. So if anybody has any other questions, please ask. Like if you're curious about an ascension card in your hand, I highly, highly like I just want to know. I've been putting this out. What are the ripples? Are people looking at their ascension hands? Read your hand backwards. Like for example, Liara, your ascending Mercury card they're telling me is the Four of Hearts and what we communicate. The ascension hand is how we just like in astrology, what's above, in that circle is visible and what's below is kind of private. The ascension hand is like how you show up in the world ideally. So what do you give? What is the gift you give with your speech? It's the Four of Hearts. It's tenderness. It makes other people feel safe. That's the gift that you give with your voice. And that is so true. The first time I heard Liara and I met because I heard her be interviewed on Galactic Connection. I was like, oh my God, that is the most comprehensive and sane interview I've ever heard in my life. And then we ended up finding each other. Very serendipitous. But we're up on the ships together. We know each other. Hey, did you see? I was going to, I'm sorry, this is just a little personal thing, but I think this guy's name is Scott Rice. It's on Janine, Tarot by Janine, her Telegram channel. She posted this video where it's a comedy video where Rion and Shauna Ava are pretending that they're answering the phone for the Galactic Federation. And this guy's like calling him and being like, oh, you're having Zoom next week. Okay, I'm just curious because I do have a big passion for understanding the deeper, higher natures of reality that people don't know exist. Perfect. Oh, I love that. Thank you for that confirmation. So this is me being ADD, jumping back to, so you've got to see that comedy video because I didn't even know it was them at first. And lighten up. Oh my gosh! So you've seen the video. It is freaking hilarious. It just takes the whole higher dimensional thing on a comedic path that it's like that needed to happen. That just so needed to happen. Even like they're even like in Hades in one of their phone calls. Well, we rolled the dark zone. Oh, that's great. We are on the same vibe, even if we're not chatting and connecting. So, oh, I'm just feeling such an expansive love for everybody. And if you didn't catch me live, I'm here you are. And I will be going live more because I just finished this huge fucking paint job and I've been thinking of videos to make and these amazing insights. I'm reading the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. So over on my Paula Kruger channel, I got a strike from YouTube a long time. Well, a couple of months ago, I wasn't allowed to make live videos, and now something's wonky with the channel. And it's because of a video that I made 5 years ago, and the title of it was the lowercase letter, 17th letter of the alphabet. That's all that was the title. And I just gave an exposition on what that is, and they took it down. Like, if it's just a conspiracy theory, why don't you remove all the flat earth videos or all the other banal, inane things that are, harmless and obviously not true. There's something there, obviously. So anyway, yes, I will be back. And if you want me to talk about something, please comment and I will try to get into the comments or find me on Telegram or gosh, how else can you find me? You can go on to itiskismet.com and my phone number is in there. If you try to get a cosmic connection report, my phone number is there and you can text me. So for the two people that actually heard that, that's okay. Okay, I love you. Have a really wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy the birth of summer. Bye.